It's one of the great paradoxes of modern relationships. Couples can love each other deeply, live together for years, and share almost every aspect of life, yet still struggle in the bedroom. They might manage finances together, raise children, and face life's challenges as a team. But when it comes to intimacy, silence often takes over. Many couples believe that if they are truly in love, intimacy should just happen naturally. Talking about needs, desires, or boundaries feels unnecessary, or worse, awkward. This belief has been repeated for generations. If we really connect, we shouldn't have to explain. But here's the shocking truth backed by psychology and science. The biggest secret happy couples use in bed is not performance tricks, not new positions, not even perfect chemistry. It's communication. Why is this secret so powerful? Because silence in the bedroom creates a hidden gap between partners. A woman may want more time for foreplay, but never says it. A man may crave more affection or verbal affirmation, but stays quiet. Both assume the other should just know. This is what psychologists call the assumption gap, when partners expect mind reading instead of open conversation. Over time, these small silences grow into bigger frustrations. The result? Misunderstandings, insecurity, and dissatisfaction, even in relationships filled with love. Science paints a very different picture. Research published in the Journal of Sex Research shows that couples who talk openly about intimacy, what feels good, what doesn't, what they'd like to try, report significantly higher sexual satisfaction. Not only that, but communication has been linked to higher levels of emotional closeness, trust, and even physical health benefits, like lower stress levels and improved sleep. Why? Because intimacy is not just about physical connection. It's about feeling safe, understood, and valued. Talking is what transforms physical closeness into emotional bonding. Still, many couples avoid this topic because of cultural taboos. In Western societies like the US and UK, sex is everywhere in advertising and media. Yet, ironically, real conversations about it remain rare. People grow up feeling embarrassed to discuss intimacy, even with the person they love most. This silence leads to unnecessary shame, confusion, and unmet needs. But couples who break the silence discover that words aren't a distraction. They're fuel for passion. A simple phrase like, "I love it when you do that," can turn an ordinary moment into an extraordinary one, because it blends affirmation with intimacy. So let's start by rewriting the myth. Intimacy doesn't suffer because couples fall out of love. It suffers because couples stop talking. The happiest couples are not the ones with perfect bodies or endless stamina. They are the ones who make communication a natural part of their intimacy. That's the Dine One secret backed by science. In this video, we'll explore why communication in bed feels so hard, what the research says about its benefits, what happy couples actually do, and how you can start breaking the silence in your own relationship. Because the truth is simple. Words have the power to transform passion, deepen trust, and keep love alive for years to come. The why communication in bed feels hard. If communication is truly the Dine One secret to bedroom happiness, then the obvious question is, why do so many couples avoid it? The answer lies in a mix of cultural conditioning, personal insecurities, and deep-rooted fears. From a young age, most people are taught that sex is either too private to discuss or too shameful to mention. In the US, for example, sex education often skips over conversations about desire, pleasure, and emotional intimacy. As a result, adults enter relationships carrying embarrassment instead of confidence. When the moment of intimacy arrives, they may love their partner deeply, but still feel paralyzed when it comes to speaking honestly about what they want. One of the biggest reasons communication feels hard in bed is fear of judgment. Many men worry that asking questions like, "Do you like this?" or "What would feel better?" might make them seem inexperienced. Many women worry that voicing desires or boundaries might disappoint their partner or spark rejection. This fear of being judged for honesty creates silence. Instead of sharing openly, partners choose to play it safe by staying quiet, hoping their partner can read their mind. But silence is not safety, it's a slow erosion of connection. Another barrier is the fear of hurting each other's ego. Intimacy is a vulnerable space, and feedback can feel like criticism if it isn't delivered with care. A husband may hesitate to say, "I'd love more affection before we start," because he doesn't want his wife to feel inadequate. A wife may avoid saying, "I'd like to try something different," because she worries it might make her partner feel unappreciated. Out of kindness, they stay silent. But ironically, this silence often causes more long-term frustration than a gentle, honest conversation ever would. Cultural taboos also play a huge role. In many Western households, children grow up with little to no guidance on how to talk about intimacy. Sex is portrayed in movies as effortless and instinctive. So by adulthood, people assume that talking ruins the mood. In reality, it's the opposite. Couples who normalize communication build stronger passion because they eliminate guesswork. Still, undoing years of conditioning takes courage. It means challenging the myth that love should be wordless and recognizing that silence is not romance, it's avoidance. Psychologists also point to the assumption gap. Partners assume they already know what the other wants, so they don't bother asking. But assumptions are dangerous. A husband might assume his wife doesn't care for more variety, while she quietly wishes for it. A wife might assume her husband dislikes verbal affirmation, while he secretly craves it. Without words, these needs remain unmet, leading to hidden dissatisfaction. The truth is, communication in bed feels hard because it exposes vulnerability. It requires admitting, "I have needs," and trusting your partner enough to share them. But here's the good news. Vulnerability is also what creates the deepest intimacy. Couples who push past the discomfort discover that far from killing the mood, communication makes passion more alive. In the next section, we'll see how science backs this up. How open conversations about intimacy don't just feel good emotionally, but actually rewire the brain and body for stronger desire, deeper trust, and greater satisfaction. The science behind bedroom communication, science leaves no doubt. Couples who talk openly about intimacy experience stronger connection, higher satisfaction, and deeper trust. For decades, researchers have studied what sets happy couples apart, and again the results point to one factor: sexual communication. In fact, a large study published in the Journal of Sex Research found that couples who regularly discuss what they like and don't like in bed report significantly higher levels of desire and more frequent orgasms. Communication doesn't just improve understanding, it transforms intimacy from a guessing game into a shared experience of discovery. Neuroscience also helps explain why words matter so much. When couples talk about what feels good, the brain responds by releasing oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin lowers stress, builds trust, and creates a sense of closeness that makes intimacy more natural and enjoyable. At the same time, communication reduces cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Less cortisol means less anxiety, fewer distractions, and a body more open to arousal. In simple terms, talking makes the brain and body feel safe, and safety is the foundation of pleasure. Another fascinating insight comes from studies on performance anxiety. Many men and women feel pressure to perform perfectly, which triggers stress and kills desire. But when couples create an environment where they can speak honestly, sharing worries, desires, and boundaries, this pressure melts away. Communication reframes intimacy from a performance into a partnership. Instead of thinking, "I hope I don't fail," partners begin to think, "We're in this together." That psychological shift not only boosts confidence, but also allows both people to relax and enjoy the moment fully. Science also shows that communication activates the brain's reward system. When a partner gives positive feedback like, "I love when you do that," the brain releases dopamine, the same chemical associated with excitement and pleasure. This creates a feedback loop. Affirmation leads to confidence, which leads to more openness, which leads to more passion. Over time, couples who use words of encouragement and appreciation build stronger intimacy than those who remain silent. Importantly, communication isn't just about physical instructions, it's about emotional connection. A study from the University of Ottawa found that couples who share fantasies, talk about their boundaries, and express gratitude during intimacy report higher overall relationship satisfaction. Why? Because these conversations foster vulnerability, and vulnerability is the key to authentic connection. By saying, "This is what I like," or "This is what I need," partners reveal their true selves. That honesty is what transforms sex into intimacy and passion into love. The science is clear: communication is not a mood killer. It's a passion builder. It reduces stress, increases trust, and heightens pleasure. Couples who talk openly don't lose spontaneity, they gain depth. And the more they practice it, the more natural it becomes. In the next section, we'll explore what happy couples actually do in practice, the simple communication habits they use in bed that make their intimacy last for years. what happy couples actually do. So if science proves that communication is the #1 secret to happy intimacy, the next question is obvious. What do successful couples actually say and do in bed? The answer might surprise you because it isn't about long, heavy conversations or constant instructions. Instead, it's about simple, positive, and supportive communication, both verbal and nonverbal, that creates connection in the moment. Happy couples use words not to criticize but to guide, affirm, and encourage. For example, instead of saying, "Don't do that," they might say, "I love it when you do this." This small shift in language changes the emotional tone. Positive framing makes partners feel appreciated while gently steering intimacy in a direction that feels satisfying for both. One of the most common habits happy couples share is verbal affirmation. They say things like, "That feels amazing," or "I love when you touch me like that." These statements do more than give feedback. They create a sense of excitement and build confidence. When a partner hears affirmation, they feel safe to keep exploring, which deepens intimacy. Neuroscience confirms that this kind of positive reinforcement releases dopamine, making the experience not just pleasurable but memorable. Over time, couples who regularly use affirmations build stronger passion than couples who stay silent. But words are only one part of the equation. Nonverbal communication is equally important. Eye contact, tone of voice, body language, breathing, and even small shifts in touch send powerful messages. Happy couples remain attuned to each other's cues, adjusting pace and pressure based on subtle signals. This responsiveness, what psychologists call attunement, is a form of silent conversation that makes intimacy feel natural and connected. When combined with verbal affirmation, it creates a full spectrum of communication that leaves little room for misunderstanding. Another practice successful couples use is what researchers call flexible sexual scripts. Many people grow up believing intimacy should follow a fixed script. Foreplay, intercourse, climax, done. But happy couples throw out rigid scripts and embrace flexibility. They talk openly about what they'd like to try, when they'd like to pause, or how they'd like to connect differently. This freedom removes performance pressure and replaces it with curiosity. When partners say things like, "Let's try something new together," they create a sense of adventure that reignites desire. Perhaps the most overlooked secret is gratitude. After intimacy, happy couples take time to thank each other, whether through words, a hug, or affectionate touch. This simple ritual reinforces the bond and makes each partner feel valued beyond the physical act. Gratitude creates emotional closure that transforms sex from a mechanical activity into a loving exchange. The truth is, happy couples don't use communication as a rigid strategy. They weave it naturally into their intimacy. They affirm, they adjust, they listen, they express gratitude. These small, consistent practices add up to big results: stronger trust, higher satisfaction, and lasting passion. In the next section, we'll explore how to overcome the barriers that keep many couples from talking in bed, so you can start practicing these habits with confidence and ease. Overcoming barriers to talking in bed. If communication is the secret to long-term satisfaction, then why don't more couples practice it? As we've already seen, embarrassment, cultural taboos, and fear of rejection often hold people back. The good news is that these barriers are not permanent. With awareness and practice, couples can learn to replace silence with openness, turning awkwardness into intimacy. The key is to start small, move gradually, and frame communication as a sign of love, not criticism. One of the most effective strategies is to begin outside the bedroom. For many couples, trying to introduce sensitive conversations in the heat of the moment feels overwhelming. Instead, set aside time during a walk, over coffee, or in a calm, private setting to talk about intimacy. Use gentle, positive language. "I love being close to you, and I'd love to explore ways to make it even better." This approach removes pressure and creates an environment where honesty feels safe. When communication starts in everyday life, it becomes easier to carry that openness into the bedroom. Another barrier is the fear of embarrassment. Many people believe that talking about sex is awkward or unromantic. In reality, humor and curiosity can transform the tone. Playfully asking, "What's one thing you've always wanted to try but never told me?" turns the conversation into exploration rather than interrogation. Laughter lightens the mood, breaks down walls, and reminds both partners that intimacy should be joyful, not stressful. By normalizing these discussions, couples reduce shame and replace it with shared excitement. Fear of rejection is another major obstacle. Many partners hold back desires because they worry about hearing no. But psychologists remind us that rejection of an idea is not rejection of a person. Creating ground rules, such as agreeing to listen with respect, never shaming each other, and remembering that no is simply information, not a personal attack, makes these conversations safe. Over time, as trust builds, couples feel freer to share fantasies, preferences, and boundaries without fear of judgment. A practical tool for overcoming barriers is to use I statements. Instead of saying, you never or you always, which can sound accusatory, reframe with phrases like, I feel most connected when, or I love it when you. This shifts the tone from criticism to collaboration, making your partner more open to listening. It's a subtle but powerful change that transforms defensiveness into dialogue. Finally, it's important to remind ourselves that communication is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing practice. Even happy couples don't get it right every time. They stumble, they laugh, they learn, and they try again. The difference is that they don't give up. They see every conversation as another opportunity to grow closer. The truth is, overcoming barriers to communication takes courage, but the reward is worth it. Couples who move past their fears discover a level of intimacy that silence could never provide. And in the final section, we'll tie everything together and show how communication doesn't just improve the moment. It redefines passion, turning words into fuel for love that lasts a lifetime. Conclusion: redefining passion through words. After exploring the struggles, the science, and the solutions, the message is crystal clear. Communication is not a distraction in the bedroom, it is the very fuel that keeps passion alive. Too many couples fall into the trap of thinking that silence equals romance, or that love should make partners just know what the other wants. In reality, silence builds walls, while words build bridges. The happiest couples, the ones who remain passionate after years together, are not those with perfect bodies or endless stamina. They are the ones who make talking a natural, loving part of intimacy. Redefining passion through words means understanding that intimacy is not about performance. It's about partnership. A whispered compliment, an honest request, or a gentle affirmation has the power to transform ordinary closeness into extraordinary connection. Science confirms this. Communication lowers stress hormones, boosts bonding chemicals like oxytocin, and activates the brain's reward system. In other words, every honest conversation makes desire easier, trust deeper, and satisfaction stronger. Couples who practice communication consistently don't just enjoy intimacy in the moment. They create a cycle of positive reinforcement that keeps passion thriving for years. Another important truth is that communication doesn't kill spontaneity, it enhances it. When partners feel safe to speak openly, they become more adventurous, playful, and curious. Boundaries are respected, desires are explored, and both partners feel valued. This environment transforms intimacy from a guessing game into a shared journey. Instead of thinking, what if I'm not good enough? Couples think, how can we enjoy this together? That shift from pressure to partnership is the essence of lasting passion. The beauty of communication is that it grows stronger with practice. At first, talking in bed may feel awkward or unusual, but over time, it becomes second nature. Couples discover their own rhythm of verbal and nonverbal cues, blending words with touch, eye contact, and presence. What begins as conscious effort evolves into a natural flow, where both partners feel deeply connected. Just as great conversations in daily life build trust and intimacy, great conversations in the bedroom build passion and fulfillment. So here's the final takeaway. The Gen 1 secret happy couples use in bed is not a trick or technique, it's communication. Words are not just tools for daily life, they are instruments of intimacy, capable of healing insecurities, deepening trust, and igniting passion. If you want to keep love alive, not just for months, but for decades, make communication your priority. Say what you feel, ask what your partner needs, affirm, listen, laugh, and explore together. Because in the end, true intimacy is not about perfection, it's about connection. And connection begins with words. When couples embrace this truth, they discover that passion doesn't fade with time, it evolves, deepens, and becomes more powerful than ever. That is the science and the art of redefining passion through communication.